Hello, Liberty lovers. My name is Martha Bueno, and I am coming to you live from Miami. As every Wednesday, and tonight is Wednesday, September 29th, I come to you with my co host and dear friend, Mr. Zach Foster. Good evening, sir. How are you tonight?
Hello, 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 hello. Tired, but more or less content.
Tired? Really? It's not like we have a life, Zach. This is all we do. What do you mean, tired?
Well, you can only live stream so many hours a day. Just being cool and talking about freedom before it starts to take a physical toll on you.
This is true. However, lots of exciting stuff coming up. One such thing that I want to briefly touch on because I just noticed in our intro video, we have the amazing, the fabulous Miss Gloria Alvarez. And it turns out that if you are in Tennessee next weekend, you can hang out not only with Gloria Alvarez, but with Dr. Jorgensen and maybe me. I'm all excited about that one thing. I'll be there too. So here it is. We're having a lunch with Dr. Jorgensen, candidate for president for the Libertarian Party for 2020. And a few other guests. But Gloria Alvarez, the wonderful Gloria Alvarez, will be there. You know that I am a total fangirl of Gloria Alvarez, so I'm really excited.
Right on, right on, right on. It's good when different freedom movement heavy hitters get in the same room.
Yes, for sure. Especially somebody like Gloria. And I think for people who don't know who she is, she's really popular in Latin America. She is from Guatemala. She ran as a presidential candidate in Guatemala, was not of age to run for president. So that was her one big downfall in that race. Nonetheless, I think that she did some amazing work, including, using her donations to build a forest or plant trees and stuff to help the environment. I mean, she's just a free thinker, great person all around. So really excited for that.
Ooh,
If anybody
out
wants to join us,
environmenting the eco-socialists. I like it.
no, she's just, what's not to love about a 30-something-year-old who wants to run for president of her country to make a real big difference? I mean, she just is. And she's gorgeous and she's wonderful. So she is going to be the special invited guest. And I just found out today and I am thrilled. Really quickly before we get started with our show, because today we're talking all about immigrants. So I guess it was great that I started with Gloria, because although she's not an immigrant, well, yeah, we're Latin. So we
Well,
are.
she's a visigrant.
Visigrant, yes. And I just barely missed that boat of being an immigrant myself. My parents are, but I was born here. So almost an immigrant. So for all of you guys watching, I just wanted to take 2 seconds and tell you about this effort that Zach and I are doing for Cuba. Many of you all know the shirt I'm wearing is for People for Cuba. We are sending life-saving medications to Cuba. We're using any means necessary to get it there, which we won't discuss because, it's the Cuban government and we've already had some issues. So we're just going to tell you guys that we send medications. We've been sending this. We've already done 2 big shipments of well over 300 pounds each. And we desperately need your help. So if you'd like to help us, peopleforcuba.com, that is the website. And you can go there and help us because each time we ship stuff to Cuba, it's like $3,000 just in shipping. And so we really need your help. We are changing people's lives. And it's a beautiful thing. And, we will be shortly setting up a wish list from Amazon and from Walmart so that you guys can purchase medicine if you want to just send medicine. But any little bit helps. So I just wanted to start with that now that I have everyone's attention. And with no further ado, let's talk about immigration, Zach, because topic on everyone's mind. And we are the only party that believes that immigration is good. Why? Why is this? Why don't people like immigrants? I get it.
Some people are married to some pretty narrow ideas about, they come over here and they take our jobs. Sometimes
That
it's
just
hard to
reminded me of
understand the
South
rest of
Park.
the world. Like it really is. Oh, Joe. Yeah, that's a good episode. Although it is,
Sorry, guys.
it is a valid point to be making because that really is essentially what certain groups' opposition to immigration is. Yeah, every once in a while you get some bad elements that come over here, but there's also bad elements that are born over here. And again, I don't think that somebody should be punished for a crime that they have not yet committed. But yeah, honestly, sometimes it's really hard for me to remember how I used to be because I remember being a young 18, 19-year-old Republican. I remember college Republicans and all that stuff and being, as a Latino, as a Hispanic American, I just wanted to say that my grandparents came to this country legally, and I think other immigrants should be coming to this country legally too, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I had no idea how the system actually worked. This was before I got involved with Cuba or Venezuela. This was before me and my volunteers were doing all kinds of shenanigans, jumping through hoops to get people released from ICE detention. Back when I was a young Republican, sorry, but I just didn't know what the hell I was talking about. These systems, these processes, these people, what they go through. Um, I hate to go using the 1939 to 1945 analogy, but if folks from Judaism were trying to escape from Nazi Germany, but that was happening today, I just shudder to think of myself, getting up in front of my class or getting up in front of the rest of the political science club as a young Republican while that might have been going on and saying, I know there's a lot of hard times going on out there, but my grandparents came here legally and everybody else should come here legally too. And this was before I met this thing called war refugees. Believe it or not, their problems do not wait for your conservative ideology or your far left, we have to protect our local workers from far away workers ideology, because
It's
there's
funny
some of
you're
that on the
saying
other
that
end
though,
too.
because we literally have that problem right now with Venezuela. And I, funny enough, have those documents if you would like to share them. On we really are doing that to immigrants who come here seeking asylum. Like you use that example, so now I just have to bring it up, Zach, that we are really doing that. I mean, at least in my
Well,
mind, what's going on in Venezuela.
let's start local. Let's start local
Sure.
and let's show our people some shenanigans that happened in Texas about a week and a half ago. We were
And I'm
actually going
sure
to talk about
everybody's
this
seen
last week,
it.
but
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's
maybe you
important.
have, but we're still going to talk about it anyway.
I mean, fair enough. Hold on. I was not ready for this, so just
That's all right.
guys,
Now, stay
you're just
tuned, you
gonna have
guys.
to
This
deal
is
with
worth
my
it. This is
you're just
worth
gonna have
it.
to deal with my inability to have stuff done. So this was all over the news this past week, right? And these are Haitians coming into the United States, being right in this picture. Not really. I have another one. I'll bring up the other one
What about that
because
video clip?
which video clip? Which one
Never
would you
mind.
like? Which one would you like,
The
Zach?
one specifically of the dudes on horseback chasing down the Haitians.
Sure, let's use that one instead. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, you guys just got to see for yourselves, and oh my gosh.
A humanitarian crisis at America's border with Mexico has become a full crisis of conscience
Ooh, look at
for
that.
Homeland Security. It is tragic and it is heartbreaking.
Boo, that guy.
The border bridge connecting Del Rio, Texas with Mexico has served as the only shelter for thousands of Haitian migrants, many having fled a country devastated by natural disasters and political turmoil, only to arrive to a hellish landscape with squalid conditions. The kids are starving to death and several people are sick. Thousands have already been deported back to Haiti under a policy imposed by Donald Trump, which uses the pandemic as a reason to deny them from crossing the border. We have reiterated.
Boo, that guy. All right, let's cut it off.
Families and asylum.
Mr. Mayorkas does not have El Derecho de Palabra on our show. So
people don't know why he doesn't have the
there's
right
a
to
lot
speak
to
on our
unpack.
show.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Let me just start off with the Secretary of Homeland Security, because that guy, the bald guy in the polo shirt who looks like an older version of Spectre from the James Bond movies, that is Alejandro Mayorkas, the current Homeland Security Secretary. He was born in Cuba. His
He was
family
born in
fled
Cuba.
here. He was born in Cuba. His family fled here when he was a kid, and he has lived here ever since his adolescence. He was a refugee fleeing from communism. He spent his whole life here, and then a couple of months ago, once the protest started turning into massacres on the government's part in Cuba, and there's a new wave of Cuban migrants heading for Florida in boats. Alejandro Mayorkas did a press conference, and he straight up said, "Cubans, don't come here. You will be sent back." Bro, how are you going to be a Cuban immigrant fleeing from communism and telling the Cuban immigrants fleeing from communism, don't come here, you will be sent back? I get it. He's not the guy that makes the rules. He's still got to take orders from the president, his boss, because he is part of the executive. So why did he have to be the guy who got up in front of the cameras and said that? Can you not have one of the undersecretaries say it at least? Because for all the Cubans, at least, seeing a Cuban guy telling a bunch of Cubans, do not come here. Whoa.
Yeah, I can't deal with them. As a Cuban whose parents came here legally because there was no illegal immigration at the time, it's bullshit. Sorry, guys. Sorry,
Yeah,
but
and then the next little subtopic in there I'd like to jump to. We all saw the agents, the Border Patrol agents with the cowboy hats and the horse whips. What is this? The 1850s? Come on, man. Come on. This is Customs and Border Protection. This is not the Texas Rangers going out to round up some Comanches. Come on, man.
So in our comments, Zach, I don't know if you can see them, but in our comments, there's a few people saying that they didn't actually have whips, that it's something else, that they were grabbing the shirt.
Okay, it was something else that they used to whip people. I did see video of it from several angles. There were several agents whipping people with whatever the heck it is that was in their hand. That now we're going to argue about the semantics.
Hey, Michael, you know, when people are telling
I don't
me that
care if they're not whips. What do you do
they
with
are,
them?
though.
Okay?
Hold on. I used to ride horses.
I'm not talking to you, Martha. I'm talking to the smarty pants.
But I'm going to tell you right now, because I used to ride horses. I used to own a horse when I lived in Venezuela. I've ridden horses. Trust me, those are whips. And you use them.
Oh, that was before communism?
Huh? No, yeah, well before communism.
Yeah, that was before communism.
Yeah, but yeah, I rode horses, and yes, in this man's hand right there, you can see it. That is a whip. They are using it for the horses / for the Haitians. I mean, it's right there. And I would love to just, you know, settle this right now. The intention of having those whips are really for the horses, not the people. Regardless, whether they used it or not, yes, they are holding it. And now somebody's saying split reins. I can see in his hands, it could be, even if it's not.
Yeah, I can see the questionable semantics argument device that the agents are holding in their hand. At least the guy in the front, that rein seems to be moving in particular directions, like away from the horse. So whatever it is that he's in his hand, he was hitting people with that. He was hitting people.
The reins can be used as whips as well. I'm just, you know, I'm reading the comments as this is going. It's like,
man, I have debriefed refugees from Venezuela who have been whipped with USB cords. All right, there are multiple inanimate objects that you could whip people with.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah,
guys,
so I guess I'm such a fool. Yeah, sure.
You know, you can
my
whip somebody
apologies
with anything. You can whip them with shoelaces if you really want to. But anyways,
yeah,
okay,
my apologies for knowing what the hell I was talking about. My bad. Anyway, let's go to Chile.
Let's go to Chile. Let's just talk about. Oh, also, one little thing in that video. I don't know, Zach, if you noticed, but they were talking about Haitians. But the lady who was speaking in Spanish, full on Cuban.
She might have been Cuban. I didn't recognize the accent right away. I just assumed that she might have been. Yeah, I speak Mexican Spanish. Sorry. I just assumed that she might have been a Haitian who learned English, because that's a thing that a lot of people don't know. A lot of Haitians are bilingual, if not trilingual. There ain't that many work opportunities in Haiti, so a lot of Haitians first will go to Dominican Republic. If there ain't none for them in Dominican Republic, then they'll go to the U.S. But yeah, a lot of Haitians speak Spanish.
Yes.
And a lot of them speak English too. Let's go to Chile. All right. So before we press play, this is a migrant camp. Because let's turn down the volume, because this is going to be in Spanish. I'm just going to narrate over this, but this is a migrant camp. Turn down the volume, please. In Venezuela, or excuse me, not Venezuela, in Chile. And what we are seeing is angry Chilean vigilantes busted down this migrant camp. So they robbed a bunch of refugees of their property, of their private property, and you see what they're doing with it. You see what they're doing with it. And well, folks, this speaks for itself. All right, let me tell you guys something. In the same amount of time as our country's war in Afghanistan, the Bolivarian Revolution has murdered more than 400,000 people, all right? That is more than 25% more than the total casualties of the Afghanistan war. These are not just refugees of communism. These are war refugees, all right? 400,000 dead people, a diaspora of 6 million people. These guys are refugees. They go to Chile, they go to Peru. About 500,000 of them have made it up here and managed not to be deported. They are war refugees, and you saw what just happened to them in that camp, as if they didn't have it hard enough. Oh, and what we see here, we see the police actually getting in the way of people who wanted to go lynch some Venezuelan migrants. That's what we saw with the police and the riot shields. They were stopping the people who wanted to lynch people in there. They didn't manage to stop people from going in there and destroying people's private property, which begs a whole other series of questions, but they did at least manage to stop the people who are trying to lynch Venezuelan war refugees. But it speaks for itself, folks. It's absolutely sickening. Not every Chilean is a xenophobe, but the amount of xenophobia that does exist in that society is highly troublesome. And what's extremely ironic is when Pinochet was doing his thing, nowhere near as bad as the Maduro regime, but it was still bad. There were still a lot of people who didn't do anything that got disappeared. A lot of folks went to Venezuela as refugees and they got let in. And now, several decades later, now that the shoe's on the other foot, they got a short memory, and there's a lot of people who want to kill the Venezuelans because Jobs.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that refugees are not wanted, especially again because this country was made up of immigrants.
And another thing, I did appreciate in the news report about the Haitians and the Cubans and the Venezuelans in Texas. I appreciated that the news said it was a policy put in place by the Trump administration, because it was. However, how many months has Joe Biden been president? How long could he have changed this if he wanted to?
What's crazy is I'm reading the comments, and number one, people are still upset about the horsewhipping. They're not upset about Haitians crossing over and being treated like dirt. They are really upset that we said that people were being whipped. So, yeah,
okay.
it's insane
okay.
to me.
I did not foresee people flooding to this channel to defend the feds. That's what seriously. It is, all right? This is the feds. The seriously. Feds acting like Texas Cowboys, okay?
I mean, listen,
so you guys want to come here and defend the feds? They were not whipping people. Yes, the feds absolutely. Okay, sure. They were beating people with batons and macing people in Portland and in Los Angeles and in Ferguson, but it did not happen on the Texan border. No. That one never happened. The other ones, yes, but Texas.
Steve, I'm with you, man. What is up with this crowd tonight? Why aren't we upset that these people who are coming here for an opportunity that all of us really had at one point or another? If you didn't come here, somebody in your family probably did. This is something that to me is very, again, personal. For people who are talking about immigrants in our comments, you're talking about me too. You're talking about people like Zach. You're talking about all of us because, we all came from somewhere. Most of us anyways. There were some natives, of course. So if you're a native, I'm not talking to you, but everybody else, we all came from somewhere else. And we're all coming for the American dream. And we're all coming for freedom from what's going on in our countries. For those of you who don't know, Cuba right now is literally killing its people.
The Cuban regime is killing its people.
The Cuban regime is committing democide. They are killing their own people. And there's video in Spanish, of course, of the unelected president of Cuba giving orders to the police to go ahead and hurt, kill, whatever, the uprising. So yeah, this country, was founded on immigration. And immigration makes this country amazing. We need immigrants. The city I am in, Miami, was built by immigrants. If you look back in our history, 50 years ago, Miami wasn't even on the map, really. We were a small town, sleepy town. And today you can go anywhere in the world and say, oh, I'm from Miami. And people are like, oh, I love Miami. They don't even ask what state you're in. They don't say, oh, the United States. No, it's Miami. So I just want to point that out because I find it really hypocritical to hear people just, going off on our comments like it's
Well,
bad.
as far as my particular attitudes about immigration, I like to take an Austrian economics approach. Now, how many times have we made arguments for yes, American companies should be as free as possible to outsource to contractors or companies in other countries because if it makes prices go down, then the quality of life of the American consumers is going up, and assuming that there's not like slavery happening where the outsourcing is going on, then those folks getting jobs, that's good for them too. All right. So as far as doing things that some people might find slightly unethical because it's going to make the quality of life for American consumers better, that's totally okay. But as far as letting in cheaper labor so that American entrepreneurs can save money on labor costs, all of a sudden, no, that's not okay. All of a sudden, now we need a federal government to keep these workers out. Folks, would you please pick one? But I like to find inspiration in some of the co-founders of the Austrian School of Economics. Well, not the founders, because that's going back to Karl Menger in the 1870s, blah blah blah. All right, the guys who made it sexy. That would be Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek. All right, those guys were Austrian Jews during the time of the Third Reich. They had to bounce from Austria because some shenanigans were going down in Austria, specifically between 1938 and 1945. But there's a wonderful quote here, an extract from Mises's Liberalism, talking about this economic freedom in the form of immigrants being able to cross borders. We know that Bastiat used to write from Paris in the 19th century about the necessity of goods to cross borders freely, otherwise soldiers will be crossing borders. Well, it's not just goods. It also extends to services. We need goods and services crossing borders freely. Not the Sinaloa cartel, which is why if we ended the war on drugs, a lot of the bad hombres come in here with their drug cartel, violent gangbanger shenanigans. It's just not a problem anymore. It's just not a problem anymore. And if we're defending our Second Amendment rights and we're all practicing our Second Amendment rights, I don't see any reason for any of you guys to be losing sleep at night, for your families about immigrants coming to this country. Or maybe some of you guys would sleep better if they got not whipped, but struck by random objects a few more times. I don't know. But America, after Switzerland became too sketchy, the United States of America gave asylum to these two great economic heroes, Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek. Also, this country, despite its problems, gave asylum to another very important thinker, Dr. Yuri Maltsev. He defected from the Soviet Union, guys. Not the nice let's go kill gay people but have capitalism Putin Russia. No, this is communism. A lot of people dying in the Gulag Russia. Okay, the Soviet Union. The United States took in Dr. Maltsev. Where would we be as libertarians? Where would we be as free thinkers? Where would Murray Rothbard be if Ludwig von Mises and Friedrich Hayek had died at Auschwitz or Bergen-Belsen or one of the other dozens of places? Where would we be as thinkers? I can't even imagine. So one of these Venezuelans, one of these Haitians, one of these Cubans, Hondurans, Afghan refugees, whatever, one of these guys is going to win the Nobel Prize for Austrian economics someday. One of these guys might develop a cure for cancer someday. Or you know what? They might just be like the founder of Goya and just start a company and make a crap load of jobs in this country. Maybe they'll just do that. But from an Austrian perspective, it's not a tragedy to have open immigration. That doesn't mean free for all, born in East LA. We'll process them, but come on, folks. If you don't let them in, they're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really sad, honestly. We talk a lot about freedoms, and this is one of the biggest ones. People describe the United States like, well, but you don't go to sleep at night and leave your doors open. Yes, I agree. But the United States isn't private property. The United
Yeah, the
States,
border wall is not the front door of your house.
it is not. And we are not allowed to have people that we want to have on our personal property. I still have family in Cuba, guys. I am very happy to bring my family to my personal property and support them 100%, but we're not allowed to. So, yeah, there, I have a problem with the way we're talking about it. I do have a problem with it because immigration has shown, the numbers are there. It's clearly immigration improves our own circumstances. Look at an economy like Japan's. If you don't have a growing population, there is no growth for your country. You will stagnate. You will end up having more problems. We need growth. Growth is good. Growth brings jobs. Growth brings innovation. Growth brings so many things. And immigrants tend to favor freedom, favor all those things that force them to leave their country. So if you want a group of people that believe in the things that we do, I'd say start embracing a little bit more immigration. And believe it or not, people are not going to completely flood the United States. That's I know another big issue. People are coming here because of the problems in their countries, not necessarily because they want to move to the United States. I mean, think about it. You're at home, you're having a wonderful time with your family. You don't want to leave. You don't want to move to another country. You only do so because you absolutely have to. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at people who are being killed in their countries. And a lot of these countries have nothing to do with the United States and United States policies, but a lot do. And Zach and I have talked a lot about people coming to the United States based on our drug policies and our, we haven't exactly been a good neighbor. So we cause the problems and then we're like, yeah, but you can't come here to the solution. So this is a real sensitive subject for me, as you can tell. And yeah, it doesn't matter if we're whipping people or not, because again, the comments are all about that right now. It doesn't really matter if we're whipping people or not. That's not the way you treat people coming here looking for help. And earlier in the show, I was making a comment about how Venezuelans are being deported. Zach, if you want to go into that, I'll let you do it. But Venezuelans,
Well, other
like
than
you
I
said,
think it's absolutely sick that Homeland Security or the State Department is advising the Venezuelan government of which Venezuelans we're sending back. So we're basically sending them their own checkboxed Amazon wish list of people that escaped from their clutches, that this time there's going to be no escape for them once they get sent back. I think that's sick. Absolutely sick.
yeah. And, we're doing it to a government that the United States doesn't even consider the real government of Venezuela. We're sending back to the Maduro regime, which is not the government the United States recognized. So we're not even sending refugees back to Venezuela to the legitimate government. We're sending them to somebody that has no claim over them. So it's just, when we're talking about immigration, there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of issues, and the news doesn't talk about it.
Oh, and USA just approved another 320 something million of our tax dollars to go to Venezuela to quote unquote help, which that is the worst idea in the world. I
You
am
mean the
telling
same
you
USA
guys.
aid?
All right, I am telling you guys as somebody who has busted his behind to save people's lives from communism and have been mostly successful at it. Holy cannoli. Down there, it's bad. Over here, it's bad. But down there, it's even worse. And the death, the death, guys. I don't even words don't. How do you describe 400,000 people? I don't know. I don't know how to describe it to people. The people watching this getting mad at me over the semantics of whether the Haitians were whipped or not. When is the last time that you had to listen to somebody's mother wailing because you failed to save her son? When is the last time that you had to comfort somebody because their small child was in the hospital from something that is specifically the fault of communism? When is the last time that you had to bury a Cuban or a Venezuelan or a victim of any other war? I don't know if there's any Gold Star families in the LP from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But oh my gosh, guys, the level of death is absolutely insane. Anyway, $300 million to a kleptocracy that's not giving those people any money. Our taxpayers have sent over $1 billion to that country in the last 4 years, and it's not getting to the people. We're just buying sports cars for Maduro's people and Juan Guaido's people. That's all that it's doing. And meanwhile, in the last 2.5 years, that quote unquote regime change was happening in Venezuela. Not. Another 200,000 people died.
You know, it's
200,000.
crazy. The USA Aid gave another boatload of money after putting out a report.
After putting out the report about the fraud. Like, are you serious?
So for those who don't
You
know what we're
cannot
talking
write
about,
this for a screenplay.
Yeah, we had. I don't have it queued up, so I can't just bring it up. But there was an article that USA Aid posted that
was
stated,
a full report.
Yeah, full report that said that less than 2% of the money sent to Venezuela from the United States, not from remittances, not from the United States government, less than 2% actually made it to the hands of Venezuelans. 98% of that went into the regime. So can you imagine how much money is it that we just approved?
For the latest round this fiscal year, 320 odd million.
320 odd million. So that's pretty much 300 million going to the pockets of the Maduro
the State
regime.
Department and USA to continue giving money to Venezuelans. It would, I don't know. It's like giving money to Tyrone.
So much more fun.
It's like giving money to Tyrone Bigham and being surprised that he threw a $450,000 crack party. Come on, guys. Like, the signs were there.
I mean, it's just insane to me. Like, what is the purpose of government if they can't stop something? If they know that they have a problem, if 98% of the money that they investigated themselves and said, hey, you know, it's funny that this money didn't actually reach the hands of Venezuelans, but let's send more because
let's send more.
This other amount is definitely going to reach them. At what point do we go, you know, maybe this is a bad idea? Or does that never like cross their minds? Like, and the worst part to me is the people sitting on that board, people like Marco Rubio, who are like approving.
Well, I mean, it ain't really their money. I mean, technically they're taxpayers too, but they're members of Congress or they're federal bureaucrats. So right off the bat, 6-figure salary plus full benefits, plus whenever they got to go places, you know, they're billing per diem and incidentals and all that crap. So being in the government, no matter what good quality of a public servant you are, not everybody can be Ron Paul, but no matter how good of a public servant you are, if you're in the government, you are going for a ride on the taxpayer's dime. So
well, I mean,
for these guys, it's just
salary from us. So
yeah, it's not their money.
It's not.
It doesn't hurt them. Whereas somebody a working class stiff like me, trust me, the percentage that the IRS takes from me, even as a broke stiff, man, it sucks, guys. It really sucks.
Well, did you hear that now they want to tax our gas, our miles? That was a great one. That's just one of those. Where are we going from here? I mean, next
they're going to tax miles. I'm actually curious to see who's going to start riding first. The Uber drivers of Los Angeles or the taxi drivers of New York City?
You know who should be riding?
That's some real 50-50 right there.
People
all the CDL drivers, all the independent CDL drivers, because if you work for a company, cool, the company's paying your mileage. If you're an independent or a self-employed big rig driver, that's going to eat into your pocket, man. That's going to be rough. And a lot of guys, they need as many miles as they can to be able to feed their family, and for that to be taxed. Geez, like, all right, you know what, Martha? That reminds me of something that you tweeted. I think it was today. Instead of tax the rich, how come it's not? Let's make all the working class people pay as low taxes as the rich. Just tax people less or stop inflation.
Anything is better than to continue to.
I don't want to tax rich people. I don't think that rich people have particularly taken any from me. Sure, the lip socks are going to talk about the value of my labor or my labor power if you're an Engelsist and not a Marxist, but it's semantics, dude. Everybody else, yeah, I think you could be on the same page with me. Most people have not stolen from me. One person did. Martha, you know who that person is. You see, my German Shepherd is barking because she remembers too, and she's really mad at that. And so is the weenie dog. But again, I don't want rich people to pay more taxes. I want to pay less taxes. All right. Do no harm to others.
Also, at what point do we like say we pay enough? Like, where's that line? And I get it. I know that in the 80s we paid 90% in taxes, or at least the very rich did. But at what point, like at what point what I earn is mine? And for a country that is so sensitive to topics, which rightfully so, things like I don't even like I'm so
Well,
scared to even
according to my weenie dog, who's still barking his head off because he wants to be heard, anything more than 3%, greater than or equal to 3% tax is tyranny. Because 1776. That's what the weenie dog says. I'm just translating.
I mean, that's like very it's like historical. So Ronald Reagan would make one movie a year because anything above that was just too much in taxes. So he'd just, make one movie a year. You can't tax people and expect them to work as if they weren't being taxed at that crazy rate. So yeah, when you were already working 4 months out of the year for the government, and now they want to tax your miles, I think, at 4 months out of the year, it was already too much. We work until tax day pretty much every year. And there's an organization that puts out the exact date that most people have to work for the government before they can actually work for themselves. The thing is, we don't see it because it just comes straight out of our paycheck. So you really don't feel it, when you make $400 a week, but you really make three something, you're like, no, my salary's three something. So you don't really feel it. But you're working 4 months out of the year for free for the government. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I really hate working for free. Like, it's the worst.
Trust me, I feel it.
No, I do too. So we don't necessarily, how did we get into tax conversation? We were really talking about
Austrian
immigration.
economics. Well, we are speaking for all the immigrants that says, todos esos impuestos son hijos de puta. Something like that.
Oh, and I see people talking about, yes, guys, the welfare state. Listen, welfare state is something that should end. We're not going to, I agree with you 100%. We don't need the welfare state. We can just assume that everybody on this show agrees that the welfare state is bad, but also people are suffering today. So if you want to wait until this country is perfect before saying, hey, let's help somebody else, I think that's kind of a you problem. I really do.
Well,
I think that's a little bit of a whole move, not.
I would definitely like to see really good libertarian leaning, free market oriented reforms, lowering of inflation, creation of more jobs, lowering of prices. As long as that stuff's going on, then as policy proposals, we could propose, incrementing out or privatizing different facets of the welfare state. I do not believe in being against altruism. That's why I'm libertarian and not specifically objectivist. We also don't, most of us don't necessarily need the welfare state. But honestly, you want to talk policy to people in this day and age and not get lynched at the same time. This is one position that almost nobody can argue with you on. Let's cut the $2 to $3 trillion wars. Let's start cutting the $2 to $3 trillion wars out of the budget. And then all of a sudden, what was it? It was Tom Woods. Tom Woods, of all people, said, oh, Ron Paul wants to slash X number of dollars from the defense budget, and you guys are saying that that's crazy. Oh, okay. I didn't know it was so crazy. Going back to the defense budget of 2005, that just goes to show how fast and how much it keeps rising. But you slash $2 or $3 trillion from the military-industrial complex, all of a sudden, it's a lot easier to pay the 100 something billion dollars for the welfare state. All of this, in my opinion, is corrupt spending. Even if people are being helped, somebody's skimming off the top in Washington or at the state agencies or on the city level. It just happens all the time.
We pay like $400
Martha, you and I
a day.
have gone over the books. We're not going to go to details right now, but we've gone into the books for Miami-Dade, and we've circled some really big items that we had to say WTF because it was so obvious, but nobody had gone into the numbers before. That said, the welfare state is like a rock that you're throwing into a pond, whereas the military-industrial complex, as it is right now, from the helicopters that we're buying for the Afghan Air Force, all the way to the surplus gear that's going to the Berkeley Police Department, all of it. You cut all of it because that that's like a meteor falling into a pond.
Besides that, Zach, we spend about
Yeah.
$400 a day to house immigrants in private prisons while we wait for asylum. Like, guys, we're spending money where we really don't need to spend money. It's not like the United States government knows what it's doing. It's not like we're
Oh, I
saying,
forgot
hey,
about, yeah, the private prisons. I
yeah,
totally
we
forgot about that.
we
Yeah,
totally
80% of
pay,
ICE detention facilities are privately contracted, by the way,
and
which
it's
is
super
one reason
expensive.
why both the guards and the ICE agents love to use every excuse to keep people in there as long as humanly possible, because Geo Group or LaSalle Corrections or any of the other top 8, they're billing Homeland Security between $200 and $500, $200 to $500 per
Per
head
day.
per day. Yeah, so if you
Imagine
got a
if you
facility
pay
that
that in
houses
rent.
1,000 people, 1,000 people per day times $200 to $500, yeah, man, it's a racket. And these people aren't being productive. It's not like some one of those work release programs where you let them go work 5 days a week and be with their family, and then they come to prison on the weekends. The Dinesh D'Souza thing. It's not even like that. The taxpayers are paying for these war refugees to be imprisoned and treated like cattle for an average of 5 to 6 months at a time, when it's not really necessary for their case. It's just a racket, folks. It's
But
just
think
a
about the
racket.
numbers, Zach. Just give me a second. The numbers. So if you're housing an immigrant for $200 a day times 10 days, that's $2,000 times 30 days, that's $6,000. It costs $6,000 a month to house a person in our ICE detention facilities. Imagine how much you could save by letting a family come in and just giving them a third of that. And I'm not advocating for that. And
Imagine all the
most
people,
immigrants are not
give
asking for
them
that.
a
Immigrants.
third of that. Sorry. You put the song in my head, Martha.
So it's my fault that you went into
Yes.
singing? Okay. Anyways, imagine the amount of money we just throw out there to house people in these horrible conditions. And most immigrants don't want a handout. Most immigrants just want to get away from the
Yeah, they
horrible
just want to get
situation in
out.
their
Yeah.
country. So
Yeah, a
it's
lot of people
very,
commit suicide in those prisons, BT dubs,
yes, they do. And
because the deporters tell them, all right, you're going to be out any day now. And then the deporter will come back a week later and say, oh, there's a change in the paperwork or something like that. You got to stay here for another 14 days. Then it turns into, oh, you got to stay here for another 14 business days. Then 14 business days, you got to take a COVID test and like 3 other things. And
tell
then
them
they
how you
just
know,
like
Zach.
release them into the swamp.
Tell them how you
Oh,
know.
because we in the Citizens Embassy and several other volunteer groups have helped people from wherever it was that they were released from ICE detention to where they were trying to go. So they might present themselves at the border at like McAllen, Texas, or Del Rio, Texas, or El Paso, and they'll say, "Hey, I've got family in California, or I've got family in Oklahoma," because diasporas, people go far. And instead of giving them some kind of expedited thing, or the deporters or other Homeland Security people helping them with the process, or just paroling them and letting them go if they got U.S. citizens who can sign for them. No, 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 no. First, they got to be detained for months, and then when this person least expects, the deporter opens a cell, brings them out, has them sign a piece of paper, says you're free to go, and then the prison door basically hits them in the butt on the way out. And then literally, the dude will be in Alexandria, Texas, or the dude will be in Jena, Louisiana, or he will be somewhere in Okmulgee County, Oklahoma,
You missed the part
all of
where they
which
charge them
are
money.
the boondocks.
You
Oh,
also have
that's
to
right. They all,
pay.
oh, yeah, the bond.
There's a bond to get out of, and it's not like chump change. It's like ten
Yeah,
thousand
because that's
dollars.
different
It's
from
like a
admin
lot of money
parole.
for these
Yeah,
people.
it's 10 to 15 grand.
Yeah. So I mean, our immigration system is absolutely horrific, and I know a lot. We talk about it a lot on here. Most people who don't watch us regularly don't know these things. The reason I asked Zach to say why he knows about these issues is because Zach heads part of an organization that helps Venezuelan migrants be able to process their paperwork as citizens. We're just citizens helping other citizens. And so that's an
Well,
important.
first we investigate them to make sure that they're not poopy heads. There have been a couple poopy heads that we told to kick rocks, but more than 99% really have been war refugees.
Yeah. And so anyways, that was why I asked you to bring that up, because when we're talking about this, we're not, Zach and I, we're not journalists. We don't have somebody writing our copy and we're reading it off a teleprompter. We actually do some stuff out in the community, and then we come on here and we talk about it. So for those who are wondering what our credentials are, we do the things that we're talking about. And so yeah, we know certain things, like the bond to get out of ICE detention centers. So we're paying to house these people, and then they have to pay to be able to leave it. And if they can't leave it, much like the bail system in regular jails, they don't get out. So it's a really terrible system. And I think the most important thing we can tell you about is tell you about the system, so that you are not being lied to on the news and whatnot. But anyways, we've gone a bit long, and we're just going to end it right here because I think we're done arguing for tonight. I want to remind you all, whether you love me or hate me, I appreciate everything, especially if you go to peopleforcuba.com and go to the donate button down there. I really need your help. Cuba really needs your help. We have another shipment coming up, and we are seriously underfunded here. So if you are watching this and want to help the people of Cuba, I would appreciate anything you can give. And also, you can argue with Zach and I on Twitter. Lucky for you, we are both on Twitter, and we would love it if you came and argued all of these points on there. You can tell us directly how much we suck. It's okay. We enjoy it. We are gluttons for punishment. So
We are gluttons for punishment. Yes.
yes, well, whatever. You know, it's late, guys. It's late. I've had a full day.
No, that's a bumper sticker right there. That is a T-shirt. You heard it here on Latin Libertarians First. It's ours. Thank you. This is the one case where IP does exist.
All right. Well, we can leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for paying attention to us. We appreciate it. Register to vote with the Libertarian Party, because thanks to them, we are on here. And we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.
And be nice to the migrants.
Yes, please, and thank you. Good night, everyone.